business groups scramble for the scrapping of the security of tenure bill meant to end contractualization. Will they get the president's nod? What is the plea here, Jess?
Okay, the basic plea here is that veto the bill before it lapses into law. That is a call of around 13 local and foreign business groups. You have the likes of AmCham. At the same time, you have Makati Business Club, also the Philippine Chamber of Commerce. So they are saying it is already redundant, this particular bill, the security of tenure bill. It's redundant with previously approved laws. Now, they are saying it also impinges on management prerogative anchored on the Constitution. And at the same time, one argument also that we'll be talking about later is that it also excludes government agencies and might actually have a negative impact on the economy, primarily on job creation. So just to give you a bit of a context first here. Now, the act is called the Security of Tenure Bill. It bans a 5-month hiring of workers to circumvent that requirement to grant regular status to employees after 6 months. Now, the jobs directly related to principal businesses or under the contractee is also, according to this bill, should be automatically considered as regular employees as well. Now, we try to take a look at the timeline of this bill and how it has passed throughout this period. In May 22, it was approved by the Senate, and at the same time, May 28, the House of Representatives adopted the Senate version that basically goes away. That, in a way, takes away the need for them to actually harmonize their versions of the bill. And then it was passed to the Office of the President come June 27. Now, a month after that, which is July 27, a few days away, if the President doesn't sign it, it lapses into law. The only chance for it to not be passed is for the President to actually veto the bill. Now, what are the arguments here of the business groups? They are saying you have an existing order from the Department of Labor and Employment. At the same time, you have an existing EO from the Palace. I'm referring to the Department Order 174, which was released in March 2017. Then there's also Executive Order 51, which was released in May 2018. Basically, those two policies prohibit labor-only contracting. So they are saying, why not just enforce both laws and policies, especially since they are saying, you have Silvestre Velo saying 2016 estimates for contractual workers in the private sector is already at 650,000. Now, since when the policies were actually approved, some 500,000 private sector contractual workers have already been regularized since May 2018. So that's quite a huge number. And they're saying, now the policies are effective, why not just fully implement them? And at the same time, one sticking point for them is that it does not actually cover government agencies, the security tenure bill. So they're saying it really doesn't give equal opportunities for the private sector and the public sector, considering that you have around 700,000 contractual workers among state-owned agencies. So that's really a big sticking point here for the business groups. They're saying, why isolate the private sector? One particular reasoning here for the bill is that it might actually potentially pose some severe fiscal challenge for the government if they are to actually go away with contractual workers. At the same time, there are uncertainties over regularization, especially since we have some requirements from the Civil Service Commission. Now, but at the same time, you have business groups actually noting the fact that, you know what, there are already state workers here that have been on temporary status for 15 years already. So that's something they say, why not focus on such things as well? Why isolate the private sector? And they are basically saying, ultimately, this might actually have an opposite effect on job creation and the security of tenure. In fact, they're saying businesses may, in fact, instead, step up on automation and artificial intelligence to do away with low-skill level type of work.
That's very interesting. So it's really not black and white. You're protecting the labor rights of workers and also job creation.
But at the same time, you have the DOLE saying, that existing measures, the one from DOLE and the same time the one from Malacanang, do not penalize violators. So they are saying a law is needed in order for the agencies to actually penalize possible violators.
Okay, so interesting points there. But they are, of course, saying that, apart from looking at the redundancy of the Security of Tenure Act, they need to be prioritized, or the government needs to be prioritizing specific other laws or measures. What are they saying there? Okay,
lots of measures. In fact, they are saying a lot on agriculture, technology. At the same time, especially since the water crisis, they are saying something that we have to ramp up on, especially since that also affects businesses. But primarily, if you try to take a look at the wish list there, of some of these business chambers, rather, it boils down to 3 particular wish lists here. First one being the amendment to the Foreign Investment Law, or the Republic Act number 7042, or the Foreign Investments Act of 1991. The amendments will remove restrictions on foreigners from practicing their profession in the Philippines. Another law, this one, quite aged already, amendments to the Public Service Act, or the Commonwealth Act number 146, that's already 82 years old.
Wow.
So the changes here will lift foreign ownership limits in utilities. So these are calls made. You have the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, European Chamber of Commerce, as well as Japan, and even PhilChai. Basically, the point here is that changes to both of these laws will attract more foreign investments and spur job creation. But here is where they differ, the passage of the remaining tax packages here of the CTRP. They all support it, especially since, you know, it proposes a gradual declining of corporate income tax from 30% to 20% by 2029. But you have here European Chamber President Francis Nabil saying, you know, it's really a great move towards a fiscal regime, especially since this will dispel any uncertainties. In fact, may actually attract more foreign investors, but at the same time, they have some apprehensions, conditions, especially when it comes to modernizing the incentives.
Yeah.
Exactly. So at the same time, something that Nabuo Fuji is actually supporting as well, you know, and at the same time, PhilChai Chamber of Commerce, George C. saying that refinement of incentives might actually result to loss of competitiveness for some industry, especially since you're trying to look at the export sector.
Well, tax reform is still a contentious issue. There are a lot to be discussed for that 19th Congress, Jess. Thanks for that.